Yes.
Mr. Jobs, you're a bright and influential man.
Here it comes.
It's sad and clear that on several counts you've discussed, you don't know what you're talking about. I would like, for example, for you to express in clear terms how, say, Java, in any of its incarnations, addresses the ideas embodied in OpenDoc. And when you're finished with that, perhaps you could tell us what you personally have been doing for the last 7 years.
You know, you can please some of the people some of the time.
Hey guys, what's going on? Hey, so we're gonna get to that video that you just watched in a second, but I just wanted to let you guys know, if you haven't been around on the channel, this is the very first time that I've ever tried filming outdoors. And so if you do enjoy this video for that reason, feel free to tell me in the comments. Maybe I'll keep doing it, who knows? I just figured I would try out some fun stuff with the different video equipment I have at this moment, so who knows? But that video you guys just checked out is honestly one of my favorite videos when it comes to a mentality for content creation. I think that the responses that Steve Jobs will give that are later in that video, which you can check out down below if you want to see the full interaction with that individual. I think the responses that he gives to him give a clear depiction as to where Steve Jobs' mind was, why he would have maybe been one of the best content creators to ever exist, and why, you know, maybe even if you define content in different ways, he might have very well been one of the best content creators. But to explain the interaction that's happening between those two people, Steve Jobs and this programmer, basically at this press release that Apple was giving, there was going to be a rollout that caused a application called OpenDoc to be essentially done. Like, it wouldn't exist anymore. It would no longer be a staple application to be used within the rollout of the Apple products. Now, this was obviously a bit of a twister for this programmer that was talking, because of the fact that OpenDoc did a lot of things. Without going into the explicit details of it all, OpenDoc essentially was a one-stop shop for all documents. So imagine a world where a Word document, an Excel document, and a Photoshop document can all be opened on the same application. It would be super weird and very, very different than what we're used to, but that's essentially what it would have done. Steve Jobs gave a reason for why he was getting rid of it. And the reason is honestly built into the core values of all content creation, all entertainment, and all of anything that has a consumer and a producer relationship. This is what he said.
You've got to start with the customer experience and work backwards to the technology. You can't start with the technology and try to figure out where you're going to try to sell it. And I've made this mistake probably more than anybody else in this room.
Steve Jobs essentially bases his creation and his rollout and all of the production that went into Apple when he was in charge around the user experience. This is something that you see consistently throughout any movie, any documentary, anything that pertains to Steve Jobs was his very, very specific determination to give a user experience that was unparalleled. So in his defense to the programmer, it was more of a concern for the industry in that they were more concerned with how to have the coolest thing in their eyes, how to have the next best thing in their eyes, but never having a real legitimate concern for whether or not the user would understand or whether they would buy into it or even be able to use it. Steve Jobs goes a little bit further into talking about when they rolled out one of the first laser printers, and here's what he has to say about it.
We built the world's first small laser printers, you know. And there was awesome technology in that box. And I remember seeing the first printout come out of it and just picking it up and looking at it and thinking, you know, we can sell this. Because you don't have to know anything about what's in that box. All we have to do is hold this up and go, do you want this? And if you can remember back to 1984, before laser printers, it was pretty startling to see that. People went, whoa, yes. And that's where Apple's got to get back to.
Basically saying inside of all of that, that just because it's cool to us as developers doesn't mean that it's going to be exciting, purchasable, and enjoyable for the user or the consumer. And he goes on to reference how we need to get back to that. to thinking about the consumer, thinking about the user, thinking about the viewer for us. Inside this video, you basically find the character of Steve Jobs, and honestly the core reason why I think he would be, and maybe was, one of the best content creators that we can model after. If you watched my very first YouTube video I posted on this channel about hitting Twitch affiliate and getting my first payout, you would know that one of the big things that I tried to ream on very hard is very similar to what Steve Jobs is saying in this video, which is that you need to be interested in investing in the consumer experience. Because if you don't spend your initial time of investment working on that, then you may find yourself with no one viewing whatsoever. In the same way, Steve Jobs was saying to this programmer and everyone else in the room that, hey guys, look, it could be really cool for us to do this, and it could be really, really great advancement for us as developers to continue using certain products, using certain technology, but is the user going to benefit from it? Is the viewer going to benefit from it? If the answer is no, then we need to rethink the process. So, with all things considered, guys, look, this video, I encourage you to watch it in full. Like I said, in the link down below, it's there. But ultimately, when you're making something, when you're creating something, and especially when you're investing in it, think about how it is going to amplify and augment the viewer experience. It can be really cool to have nanoleaf panels in the background. It can be really cool to get, spend an extra $300 for a somewhat better graphics card. Even one of the things that I struggle with is getting a nicer microphone and a nicer mixer and all these different things. But what I have to remind myself of is that sometimes the better investment is going to be the things that amplify the user experience, the viewer experience, and anybody that might come through your channel or channels, whether it's streaming or whether it's video creation or anything like that. Just remember, the viewer and user comes first. So again, kind of wrapping things up here, if you liked this kind of content, this kind of conversation, feel free to let me know in the comments. And again, as always, like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. We'll see you on the next video.